It's Ivy Slater, and you're listening to Her Success Story podcast, a show where gutsy businesswomen share their success journey. Hello, this is Ivy Slater, and welcome to today's episode of Her Success Story. I am thrilled to be introducing you today to Maritess Bott. She is the owner and founder of an estate planning, asset protection, probate, trust, and estate elder law firm. Maritess has been started her own firm back in 2007. She is not new to this. She's located in downtown Manhattan, downtown Chicago. I'm in downtown Manhattan. She's located in downtown Chicago. In her previous experience, she's worked for several other boutique firms before starting out on her own. Maritess, thank you for joining me. Ladies and gentlemen, in the show notes, you could see all of Maritess's accolades and truly what she's about, but I'm looking forward to having a great conversation with you today.
Thank you, Ivy. I appreciate you having me.
So how did you know that this was the area of law for you? How did that derive down?
Yeah, that's a great question. My journey was not direct. I'm sure most people. I had started in college thinking I'm going to be in business. I'm going to do something in business, and ended up with a marketing degree, and really looked forward to something in advertising. I ended up not finding a job in advertising. I was in a job in banking, really, and that was the only job I can get at the time. And I knew that I wanted to possibly go to law school right towards the end of college. I said, no, maybe. And so I ended up taking the LSAT right before I left college. In the college years, I did have an internship with an awesome law firm / accounting firm. And that was the time that I met a gentleman who just, I was like inspired by. I'm like, oh, he does business and he does law. So I thought I could do that too.
Intriguing.
Yeah, intriguing. So I put that kind of as a note, but I wasn't sure that I would go to law school. So a year and a half into banking, I was kind of bored. And so I said, I think I'll go to law school now, and ended up at a law firm. Well, during law school, I was a law clerk at a law firm downtown, and the gentleman who headed up the firm did a lot of estate planning as well as, business planning, selling, buying businesses. So I got to see both sides, and I loved both sides. It was really great to start there. And I did a lot of the smaller jobs, but I learned a lot from them. And so when I was looking at the track for doing business law, which is certainly transactional and would be great as well as the estate planning side, I enjoyed the estate planning side a lot more. And I knew that was my world, where I enjoyed doing wills and trusts and kind of the tax law and, the family stuff. It's like two topics that are tough, money and family, and they're quite interesting.
You're right. Those are money and family are some of the hardest things to navigate in this world.
Yes.
And to jump in with that with 2 feet is incredibly, forget admirable, but ambitious, because those are some of the hardest conversations and hardest decisions that people make.
Yes, for sure. And I feel like for them to open up to me is a big deal. And, certainly I am a safe zone because everything is privileged and confidential, but I see a lot coming out of the things that they've been holding back for so long, because they can't really tell anybody that they have all these family dynamic issues.
So, it's so, running a business is one of the greatest joys and can be one of the greatest challenges. And so what was the catalyst that drove you to actually start your own firm? That's saying, I'm going to do this. Now's the time. Where did that come from?
Yeah. So this was back in 2007. And what happened was, well, I'm going to go back up even more. So I had my first child, 2001. I was working downtown, long hours, Saturdays, and every time I left at 5 o'clock, partners will be like, half day. I'm trying to leave at 5 o'clock because I had an infant at home. And it was like that running joke in a law firm. So I went out and decided to go move out to the burbs and worked for a gentleman there and did my own kind of estate planning branch of his law firm. So I worked with him for 4.5 years, but it was great training ground because that was the time that I started networking. As you know, it's all about people you know, and I really just hit the ground. I had never done that when I worked downtown, so I hit the ground and did a lot of networking, did a lot of seminars, did so many things that allowed me to have the confidence. And then my second child was born, and what was the catalyst was really my second child had some challenges. I had to take him to therapies and things like that, that I knew my trying to navigate that with a busy schedule was difficult. So 4.5 years after I joined that gentleman in the suburbs, I said, I got to do this on my own. And talk about stomach aching kind of decision. I had to tell my husband. My husband's like, what? You're going to leave a job with a paycheck? And I said, don't worry, honey. I could always find a job. I kept having to reassure him. And yeah, it all worked out well because certainly I kind of just brought my book of business with me, and then people just knew me already. And that was super inspiring for me that I didn't have to start from scratch. So I was quite happy about that. And fast forward, I had a third child, and I was able to just really be part of my children's lives all this time because I'm a business owner.
And it's interesting. So let's talk about this a little bit. There's a lot of assumptions and misnomers about being a working mom running a business. Some people saying, oh, so you have a little hobby, a little side gig. You do what you do. You dabble in law.
Yeah.
That's not the firm you built.
No, not at all. Not at all. And I know there are, certainly hobby type businesses out there. Oh no, I'm always about numbers and business and making sure we're profitable. And that takes a lot of time and effort. But I think as women, we are really good at multitasking and knowing what we need to do in that 40-hour work week so that you could take on your second job as a mother because you're just more efficient. I felt like when you're working downtown in a typical law firm, they're like, oh yeah, you got to work 60, 70 hours. But a lot of that time is not efficient. A lot of it is people just chit-chatting and whatever. And yes, it's real that people just put their billable hours and who knows what's padded or not. But, it just feels like you're working a lot. But really, so for me, owning my own business, I know I'm efficient. I know I could do everything in a time frame that's reasonable.
So what were the surprises in building your own practice?
Yeah, gosh, the biggest surprise I think was HR issues. People is always going to be.
Because Maritess, I'm going to interrupt for a second. You did not just build a little hobby firm. You have consistently expanded and scaled.
Yes, we have. In fact, today we're planning on moving to a space double of our size, and I have 4 full-time team members that work for me. Yes, it's not, it's certainly small. It started out small. It was just me and my assistant. And then now 15 years later, we're moving on to a bigger space. But it's a lot of work, and you just kind of make it work and try to do what you can.
So what are going back to some of the surprises in building a firm? We lay out very often we come with some sort of plan to build. It's like, okay, we're good. This is our vision. This is how we're going to get started. And very often that's incredibly important at the beginning, because you need to just not show up and start figuring things out. I'm a strong believer in a plan and then executing. But then, along the way, we do have twists and curves in the road.
Yeah, absolutely. So I will say, like I said, my biggest challenge has always been HR and trying to just hire the right people, retain the right people. And so through the years, I've certainly had a bit of turnover and people having their own lives and saying, I'm done after a couple of years, right? What can you do with that kind of scenario? So to me, like, I thought, oh yeah, you have people and then they stay with you forever. They don't, especially a certain generation. A
Yeah.
certain generation, you're kind of a transient employer to them. One thing though I do want to point out is that I started in 2003, even before I started my law firm, with a group called the American Academy of Estate Planning Attorneys. It's basically a large organization of about 200, 250 law firms nationwide. And why I mention that is because they are actually they've been kind of the support structure for me because I'm a sole practitioner. I'm able to lean on my fellow members about what do you do for this? And what about marketing in this space? Or, we all kind of help each other out and there's really no feeling of competition amongst each other. And so when I do have a challenge, my first instinct is like, I'm typing and sending an email to my colleagues, and it's really great. That to me has been huge. At the end of the day, it's still you.
And resources is huge.
Yeah.
And I think I'm thrilled that you bring that forward because it's important to surround yourself with great resources, great support. Not every day is a banner day.
I know. Yeah. We all have felt that, right? As business owners, where you think the world is caving in and the money's not coming in. Those are real things. Yeah, for sure. I also feel like you have to surround yourself with people who have already achieved what you're looking for. Like, just people who are just a little bit higher than your practice. So I'm always looking at, oh, look at that firm. I know I can do that. And so we're just kind of always trying to make it a notch higher at all times. And we are also very lucky to be privy about our numbers. We share our numbers. It's a big long spreadsheet of P&Ls of all of us in the group. And so what does that help me with is it gives me really good benchmarks. So like I said, I love estate planning. I love the practice of law, but the business of law is quite different and important as well.
What's your vision? I mean, you're expanding. You took time out of a 2-day move for your firm to record today, which we're incredibly grateful for because you're such great insight and information. What's your vision? Where do you see the firm going? That embarking on a doubling your size in your space?
Yeah. My vision certainly, when we took on this space, was to bring on another attorney relatively soon. It's not this year, but possibly towards the end of next year. And so 10 years out, I'd like to be a team of maybe 8 at the most, having another attorney and the rest of the team members, non-attorneys. And I know we could build this practice in between 2 attorneys and really help people. I'm not one to be envisioning 30 people in the law firm. It's just not my cup of tea, but I certainly would want my clients to feel comfortable that, oh yeah, there's another lawyer there. If I'm not around or if I'm on vacation, they have somebody to contact. So that's really my vision. I mean, I will, of course, numbers wise, we want to double and all of that. That's the goal is to do that within the 10-year mark.
What advice, tips can you share forward for business leaders who are thinking, whether it be law, whether it be other areas in the professional service, whether it be, from marketing companies to law firms, when you sit and you're working for somebody and you started a family, what's that piece of advice that you would share forward? Yes or no? What do you evaluate to help make you that decision that works for you?
Whether to jump into it.
To jump in. Yes. Thank you. To jump in and take that action.
Yeah.
Opening your own company.
Okay. I would advise them to really have a plan, certainly know what you're going into and know what all of the hats that you're going to be wearing in this business, because it isn't just if you're doing marketing, it's not just the marketing, consulting or whatever, it's everything else. So definitely have a plan and also have some like people around you that have already done it and have those conversations. Having mentors is really important. I've definitely had, just several of them throughout time. And I would say for women particularly, I'll say this, I'm super grateful to have had 15 years of being there for them. Had I worked downtown, I would have been home at 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night, every single night. And I would have missed out on so much. Plus those phone calls from the nurse saying, hey, you got to get here because you have a sick child. I was always there for them. And then just being a room mom, all those things really important. So in light of that, yes, have a business, know that you could do that, but also make sure that your business, right even from the get-go, you have a plan to be profitable, sustainable. If this is a business, don't make it fall into that hobby. Don't, because if you're not making money for yourself, it's a hobby, right? It's a hobby. You're just, paying people just so that you can continue doing it, but you're worth it, right? Especially women, fight for what you're worth. You're worth whatever service you're providing. Make sure you price yourself that way, as well as look at the numbers below so that okay, at the end of the day, I'm making this and I'm going to grow each year to make that even higher.
I appreciate it and I agree with it. The people of listeners today, if you're new to Her Success Story, welcome. And if you're not, you've probably heard a little bit of my background. I've been a working mom for going on now 30 years. And I've always been a firm believer is we can have it all, especially when we believe we can have it all. Yeah. We can be present in our kids' lives. We can make the money we desire, and we can run great businesses. Yes. And Maritess, I appreciate you coming on and sharing your piece of that story and helping share what's possible out there for other businesses, other businesswomen, and other leaders.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you so much, Ivy. I really enjoyed this.
Listeners, feel free to hit subscribe. We come into your inbox every Monday morning with great interviews like today. Also, take a moment. This is the important piece. Take a moment and think about what it was the biggest takeaway for you that you showed up to listen today. And feel free to put in the notes below the takeaway and the action you're going to take from that. What are you going to do forward? That's how we all grow. We don't just talk about things, we take action. Thanks for joining us again here at Her Success Story. See you next week.